we're going to get started. Hi, everybody. So welcome. It is time to get started here today for this, the very first ever December accepted student program for students who've been offered admission into Penn State's College of Health and Human Development. We are super excited that all of you are here today, that you're taking time out to learn more about what you can expect as a student here in Health and Human Development. And first off, we need to say congratulations. It is extremely exciting to see such a terrific group having been offered admission into the college. And we're really hoping that as a result of this afternoon, you're going to have a really good sense of what you can expect to experience as a student here in the College of Health and Human Development. So again, congratulations on your offer of admission, and let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this slideshow. So here we go. So in the room today, I wanted, before we get much further, I want to introduce you to a couple of key individuals. And the first would be Dr. Dennis Shay. Dr. Shay is waving there. He is our Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education and Outreach here in the College of Health and Human Development. He's going to be talking through in just a minute what the College of Health and Human Development is all about. And also in the room, we're going to be talking to her in just a few minutes, is Susan Sanders. Susan is the lead academic advisor in our Center for Student Advising and Engagement. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about what you can expect as a student here in the college, particularly in your first year, and how things will work as you work to declare a major during your first year here at Penn State. There are a lot of people their faces. These are members of our HHD ambassadors group, and they're going to be interested and hopefully ask them questions. Speaking of questions, go ahead and type in to the Q&A questions that you're hoping that we'll answer. We'll be keeping tabs on that throughout the session and get around to answering your questions toward the end of our time together. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shay and have him talk a little about introducing you to the College of Health and Human Development.
Thanks, Chris. So one of the things that I think is really important for accepted students to know about the College of Health and Human Development is we really seek to provide an education to students that is three things. We talk about it being personal, it being practical, and it being purposeful. And what we mean by that is that in terms of your education, even though we're a big university, we really want to personalize your education through not only your major, but the minors you choose, the research opportunities, the experiential education that you get. We try to be able to provide each student with a unique experience so that when you graduate, you'll be able to talk about something that you did that no other student who graduated did while they were here at Penn State. We also really try to emphasize that we're interested in a practical education that really allows students to take what they're learning and apply it. That happens through internships, but it also happens through courses where students will have projects and events and other activities that really ask them to take what they're learning and use it and see how it works out for them, see how it works with a different type of population or a different community, see what works for them. But most of all, I think we emphasize that this education is purposeful. We're really trying to emphasize that for students, we really are aiming to prepare you for your first job, for your career, but more importantly, for a life of real purpose that has impact on the individuals and the communities that you'll interact with throughout the course of that experience. So that's kind of the fundamental elements of HHD education. The college was really founded with a unique perspective in order to enable students to be able to do that. And so when we talk about HHD, we really bring together three different elements of study. One area is the area of life and health sciences. Of course, if you're going to study human health, excuse me, and human development, you really need to understand the life and health sciences. But that's not enough. You need to understand the social and behavioral sciences, the fields like sociology, psychology, economics. These are fields that really shape how our health behaviors play out on our lives, in our communities, in our families. And so being able to understand that is an important part of being able to understand and have an impact on human health and human development. And then finally, we want to understand that many of these activities play out in the organizations, whether those are nonprofit organizations or businesses or communities or schools. And so understanding the organizational sciences, the leadership approaches that are needed to be successful in these types of organizations so that you can really help people and communities and workplaces accomplish human health and human development. You need to put those all together. And so HHD is smack dab in the middle there. We pulled together from all those different fields and different combinations and different ways to help students be successful and really build that life of a personalized education, a practical education, and a purposeful education that really allows you to make a difference in these different spheres. So let me move on to a little bit about the majors that we help students learn about in our different fields. We have 8 departments and 8 majors in the college, and they're laid out around the circle here. Starting at the top there, communication sciences and disorders, nutritional sciences, kinesiology, and biobehavioral health. And then coming down in the other direction, human development and family studies, recreation, park, and tourism management, our School of Hospitality Management, and then finally our program in health policy and administration. So all of these make up the majors that are available to students. And we're going to walk through each one of those to give you a little bit of understanding of the different fields of study and the opportunities that each one offers. I'm going to do half, and then Chris is going to take the second half. So I'm going to kick off with our Department of Biobehavioral Health. And in biobehavioral health, it's a really unique combination, a balanced combination of the life and health sciences and the social and behavioral sciences, aiming to really understand the biopsychosocial impacts and intersections of human health and human development. It's a great major for those students who are interested in going on in fields like public health or community health. And it's also a great opportunity for students that are interested in clinical or research and scientific careers that focus on areas like behavioral medicine, substance use and abuse behaviors, sleeping behaviors, or even genetic medicine approaches. So biobehavioral health combines these in different ways so that students can study different aspects of human health and human development. The next program I'm going to talk a little bit about is kinesiology, which offers opportunities for students interested in careers in the sports, physical activity, and exercise and fitness industries, as well as in clinical areas. They have an option in applied exercise and health, which is a great background for students who are interested in the fitness and sports industries, or it's the pathway for K-12 physical education teaching. In addition, they have an option in movement science, which is the great fit for students that are interested in clinical and scientific research careers, particularly if you have an interest in orthopedics, physical or occupational therapy, cardiovascular areas, or biomechanics. So students can use this to go in these multiple directions in the field of kinesiology. Nutritional sciences is the next one I'm going to mention a little bit about. They offer 3 pathways for students in our university. One is the area of nutrition and dietetics. It's the primary path for those students who are interested in becoming a registered dietitian. Those students go on to do an internship and a master's degree in order to earn that qualification, but they start with an undergraduate degree in nutrition and dietetics. In addition, the department offers an opportunity for students who are interested in behavioral nutrition and public health. So a real community health, public health, school health focus on nutritional aspects of eating and eating behaviors. And then finally, they have a program, an option in nutritional physiology and biochemistry for those students who are interested, again, in the more clinical scientific research fields, not just in areas like medicine, if you have an interest in diabetes or metabolic disorders, but also for those who are interested in the food industry and interested in how we put foods together these days in order to help people achieve human health. Finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about communication and sciences and disorders. This is the primary path for our students who are interested in speech language pathology or audiology, both fields that do require students to go on and get a graduate education. Students need a strong science background, as they do in all these 4 programs, in order to be successful. But the communication science and disorders program offers students a lot of flexibility so that they can achieve a minor in an area like rehabilitation sciences or a language minor that might be interesting for them if they're going to be working with a Spanish-speaking population, or an area like human development where they can really study how pediatric growth and development might interact with communication sciences and disorders. So lots of different ways that students can combine that major with other fields of study in order to be successful and prepare for that graduate education. I'm going to turn it over to Chris for the next 4. Take a breath.
Thanks, Dr. Shay. So human development and family studies. I always like to say that this basically looks at from the time we're born until the time we die. Why do we develop the way we develop? Why do we behave the way we behave? Why do we do the things that we do? It really is looking at the human biological, the psychological, and the sociological development across the lifespan. So when you think about that, this is big and broad. So yes, it gets into looking at early childhood development. And yes, it gets into maybe early childhood education or education throughout, again, the lifespan. But it also can apply to things like social work. It can apply for things like human services, human service organizational management. It gets into nonprofit leadership and development and management as well. Also has implications and applications in law or business, human resources. So lots of different directions that students who are pursuing human development and family studies can kind of take this particular major. There are 2 particular options within human development and family studies. So one is the lifespan human services option. So that one's really going to focus on personal and family development. That definitely is an option for students who are thinking about early childhood education, social services, human resources, public welfare, family service organizations. That could be the option. The lifespan developmental sciences option is going to be one that definitely has a research focus. And so it's going to look at individual and family development. It's going to look at preparing students for postgraduate study for either teaching or perhaps counseling, developmental or family research, law, behavioral health, social work. That would be the lifespan development option. So lots of different possibilities there. Recreation, Park, and Tourism Management is one of our business-related majors. So as Dr. Shay was talking early on, how we bring together those 3 areas of life sciences, that social sciences aspect, and then that organizational leadership. I would say those first 4 majors that he talked about were definitely kind of on that life sciences side, having integration with social sciences and organizational leadership. Human development and family studies squarely in terms of social sciences. And now we're kind of starting to go over into that organizational leadership side of things. And recreation, park, and tourism management is one of those majors. So it's a major that's going to look at, not just parks and recreation, which is oftentimes what people think about. So yes, it is about state parks, local parks, national parks, but it also gets into community recreation. It gets into leadership, experiential leadership kinds of programs. There's a professional golf management option within this particular major. It gets into resort management. It gets into guest services at different properties. It gets into entertainment and sport venue management. Lots of different options here. This particular photo that you're looking at is part of a class in which a group of students in recreation, park, and tourism management, they actually spend a semester focusing on a specific facility, typically a resort, or it could be a cruise ship line. They then spend time on campus preparing to actually spend time at that resort or on that cruise ship. They go and spend about a week or so, and then they come back and they work on recommendations and then present the results of their case study for that organization to the company representatives. So this gentleman that's in that burgundy sweater looking at the students presenting is one of the representatives of Marriott, who was listening to students talk about a property in New Jersey during their presentation. Hospitality management is in the School of Hospitality Management. And so it is a program that is preparing students for careers, whether it be in hotels, restaurants, perhaps hospitality real estate, long-term care facilities are increasingly becoming part of hospitality management. This is a program that also is preparing students to work at resorts and casinos. trying to figure out the difference maybe between recreation, park and tourism management and hospitality management. One way to think about it could be that hospitality management really focuses on the property, whereas recreation, park and tourism management oftentimes focuses on the experience that the guest is going to have in that particular location. So many different options within hospitality management to pursue in terms of career paths. Key thing about this particular program, well, there are a couple, but one would be that there is a 1,000-hour work requirement for students to complete during their time as an undergraduate student to prepare them then to graduate and be employed in the industry. So they've got a terrific team that works with students to help them prepare to complete those 1,000 hours. We're going to talk about internships in just a few moments. So that happens to be the focus of the hospitality management degree, is getting those hours in for students so that they are prepared to enter the industry with loads of experience upon graduation. And then the last major we want to talk about right now is health policy and administration. So this is a major that really looks at the business of healthcare, and healthcare obviously is the largest, one of the largest parts of the economy. So this looks at all sorts of aspects, many aspects of healthcare. So it's both facility management, so looking at managing hospitals, looking at managing long-term care facilities, but it also can look at working with and consulting for organizations that focus on healthcare delivery. It can be working with insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies. And then it also gets into the policy side of things. So it could be working at the local, state, national level in terms of health policy, or even the international level as well. So this is a program that really allows students to kind of bring together a focus on business and business management principles with an interest and focus on healthcare. Lots of different options upon graduation in terms of where our students will go. But also this is a program that has a pretty hefty internship requirement. And again, we'll talk about internships in just a minute. So that's a quick overview of all 8 of our majors. So with that, I'm going to have Susan Sanders kind of join the conversation and talk to you a little bit about how does this all work? You come to Penn State, you have perhaps an intended major that you planned on pursuing, your offer of admission to Penn State. She said, congratulations, welcome to Penn State. You've been admitted into the College of Health and Human Development with an intended major of fill in the blank. Or you might have decided to come in without an intended major, which is fine. And that's really where the first year and first-year student success comes into play, specifically in the Center for Student Advising and Engagement. So Susan, I think to start, how about, can you kind of give a definition about what the center, what its role is for students, particularly in the first year or so?
Sure. So our center is the home for advising for all first-year students in the College of Health and Human Development. I think the only exception to that would be students who were admitted into the professional golf management option of recreation, park and tourism management. But everybody else starts out being advised by me or one of the other advisors in the center. And our role is really during that first year to help you as students explore your options for choice of major. Explore your options for the careers that you're interested in. Maybe you start at thinking about a major from courses that you're excited about, or possibly from a career that you're exploring, and you begin to look at what major might help you get there. So Chris and Dr. Shay have heard me say before, I think if I had to use an analogy for advisors in our center, we're like the Sherpa guides that help people get their way over the Himalayan mountains. We're not going to carry you over the mountain, but we're going to guide you as you do that exploration on your own. And we're there to support you through the transition, because it's a big change from high school to college. I don't care how tough your high school was, what kind of background you have, everybody's going to have a hard time making that transition. And we want to make it as smooth and as rich as possible for you so that you're successful from day one. Sometimes we're talking about things like getting along with roommates, or about finding clubs and organizations to be part of. All of those things sort of all fit together. Typically at the end of the first year, a student's got a pretty good idea about which direction that they're going. And at that point, usually a student's ready to declare a major, not always, but usually, and we'll hand the students off to an advisor specifically for that major. So we're there for the first year to help you confirm what your choice of major is going to be. And then the major advisor takes over to guide you through the rest of your undergraduate career.
So, Susan, people sometimes wonder, when you come in, are you going to know just right away from day one, or should you know right away from day one that this is the place for you in terms of a major? What kind of advice do you have for students as they try to figure out what is going to be the right fit for them?
So no, you don't have to know. And I'm looking at the faces of some of the students on our panel today, and I know there are students on the panel who have been through that exploration and changed their minds along the way. So I think it's really just about staying open. I think it's important to remember that many of our programs overlap in terms of academic requirements. So it's going to be really easy for the student who can't decide between biobehavioral health or nutritional sciences or kinesiology to explore all three of those in that first year without falling behind. The key is to really work closely with your advisor and to be really honest about what you like and don't like. What is a challenge for you? What's exciting for you? And we can help you navigate to the right major from that. You don't have to know coming in.
Okay. And I think, what do you think in terms of, for the first year, what do you think are kind of like the top three things a student should expect or experience in that first year?
Well, clearly, I think you should get a good relationship started with your academic advisor, because we can do all these things to help you, but not unless you come and talk to us. So that's absolutely something that a first year student should be doing. I also think first year students should start right away to get to know their faculty. That opens doors for opportunities for research or experiential learning opportunities. But just to learn who those faculty members are as people helps you get a better sense of what their career path has been like, what they're interested in. Maybe someday that person can write you an excellent letter of recommendation. So building relationships with faculty. And then I also think it's really important to find ways to get involved in the life of Penn State. So find activities to participate in, maybe some that are related to your major, maybe some that are related to your professional goals, and maybe some that you're just flat out interested in, never had an opportunity to learn anything about, just look like fun. And so I think those things are what I would really want a first year student to build into that year.
Okay. So a lot of our accepted students actually have had some type of college work experience at this point. It might be AP courses that they've taken where they've taken the exam and have AP credits. It might be an opportunity to actually take college courses at an institution that either offers those courses at their high school, or they actually go to that campus and have taken some classes. How does that all kind of factor into planning, particularly as when they come to Penn State?
Well, so the curriculum is flexible enough that you don't have to match exactly any academic plan that you may discover in the Penn State Bulletin or anywhere else. I think having those credits allows you maybe to move into maybe higher level courses sooner because you will have already had the prerequisites, or it creates space in your academic plan for things like minors or opportunities to do research for credit. You're a little bit more flexible about what you have to take when. And so I think the most important thing is to make sure that you're taking things that would be applicable to the degree that you're interested in at Penn State, and we can help you with that. Okay. We also don't want you repeating a course at Penn State that you already earned credit for.
All right. And you actually mentioned something, that the Undergraduate Bulletin. And so I think some folks might be familiar with that, but could you kind of explain what the bulletin is and particularly the kind of information that students might be looking for on there at this juncture?
I think the bulletin is a great tool for any student thinking about Penn State. I call it the source of all knowledge because it's a combination of catalog / handbook. And you can look up any major at Penn State and you can read about the career opportunities that major might lead you to. You can find information about what a possible 8-semester plan would look like for completing that degree. You can read course descriptions for your required courses. There's all kinds of ways to use that as a real tool for exploring.
Okay, and then I guess just in terms of other resources, that students should expect that they'll have at their disposal or have access to kind of help them be successful right from the start.
100%. So we'll start with academic support. I think faculty first and foremost, but Penn State Learning is a center that provides guided study groups and tutoring for a lot of different subjects that you might be taking at Penn State. Our Office for Diversity and Inclusion is there to support all students, underrepresented students, but also any student with a commitment to diversity and inclusion. So that's another resource. I think it's a shame that more students don't discover Penn State's Career Services Office sooner in their undergraduate career. That should not be a place you go your senior year. That should be a place you go your first year, because use those people to help you do your exploring as well. All kinds of places to go for additional support. We want you to be successful.
Okay, great. And then we're going to talk a little bit about minors and some double majors. So I'm going to probably come back to you and ask you for some insight as we have continued that conversation in a couple minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right. Whoops, I have to go backwards. Sorry. So with this, we're going to talk about minors and other academic options, including the integrated undergraduate graduate degree program. Going to have Dr. Shay give you an overview, and then before that, I'm supposed to have the students, our current students, introduce themselves. I just went ahead with that. So what I'm going to have you all do is, if you can just feel free to introduce yourself and tell me your name. You're going to tell everybody your name. Where you're from. This is our current students who are joining us today. Where you're from, your hometown, like that would be where you're from, what you're majoring in, and what year you are here at Penn State, so that as we kind of continue the conversation, folks will have an idea of who's saying what. So with that, I'll try to call on you and get you introduced here. So Sarah, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm a sophomore at Penn State. I'm currently double majoring in biobehavioral health and nutritional sciences. I'm in the behavioral nutrition and public health option. And my hometown is Warrington, PA, which is 45 minutes north of Philly.
Great. Daniela, do you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm Daniela. I'm from Whitehall, Pennsylvania, and I'm a senior in kinesiology with the movement science option.
Thanks for joining us today. How about Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm from Kittanning, Pennsylvania, which is near Pittsburgh. I'm majoring in biobehavioral health, and I'm a sophomore.
All right, great. Katie Bird, how are you?
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a senior in health policy and administration, and I'm also in one of our IUG programs, getting my Master of Public Health. And I'm from Glen Rock, New Jersey, which is about 25 minutes from New York City.
Great, thank you. Viviana.
Hi, I'm Viviana. I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I am a sophomore intending to double major in nutrition and dietetics and psychology. And I'm planning to be an RDN.
All right, very good. Maria, I like that background. It's beautiful.
Hi, yeah, I just found it. I'm Maria Weck. I'm a senior in biobehavioral health, and I am from Allendale, New Jersey, which is actually close to where Catherine said she was from. It's about like 30 minutes outside of New York City.
Great. Gabby, hello.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I'm a senior and I'm studying biobehavioral health, and I have a minor in deafness and hearing studies. And I'm from Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour west of State College.
Great, thank you. Hi, Esther. Good to see you today.
Hi guys, my name is Esther. I am a junior majoring in kinesiology, the movement science option, and I am from Centerville, Virginia, which is about 40 minutes outside DC.
Good, thank you. Jenna.
Hi, my name is Jenna. I'm from Princeton, New Jersey. I'm a junior and my major is human development and family studies, and I'm doing the lifespan human services option.
Very good, thank you. Garrett, hello there.
Hi, Chris. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Garrett Wiley. I'm a junior here at Penn State, majoring in recreation, park, and tourism management in the commercial recreation option. And I'm from Hummelstown, Pennsylvania, which is about 5 minutes outside of Hershey.
Good. Thanks for joining us today, Garrett. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks for coming.
I'm Alex. I'm currently a senior communication sciences and disorders major, and I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour west of Philly.
All right, great. And we've got Morgan here today. Hello, Morgan.
Hi guys, I'm Morgan Mcnulty. I'm from Hunterdon County, New Jersey. I'm a freshman at Penn State this year, and I'm majoring in health policy and administration.
Great. And Allison, hello.
Hi, my name's Allison. I'm originally from Harrisburg, PA, which is in southern Pennsylvania. And I'm a first-year student as well with Morgan, and my intended major is biobehavioral health.
All right, great. Hey, Audrey.
Hi, I'm Audrey, and I am from Cranberry Township, which is about a half hour north of Pittsburgh. And my intended major, I'm still deciding, I'm a freshman, and I'm still deciding between biobehavioral health and human development family studies.
Okay, I like that, still deciding. You have time to figure that out as a first year. That's great. Hey, Megan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm Megan. I'm currently a junior studying in Nutritional Sciences. I'm the dietetics route, and I am actually local to State College, so born and raised.
All right, thanks for making the trip today. So, hey, Timberly, I don't know that we can see you, but we should be able to hear you. Can you unmute and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Timberly, and I am from Ford City, Pennsylvania, about 40 minutes north of Pittsburgh. I'm a senior at Penn State studying kinesiology and the movement science option, and I am going into cardiac rehab therapy.
All right, thank you so much. All right, this is your amazing student panel of current HHD students who are going to answer some questions now, and we'll continue to ask them questions that you pose in the Q&A, and so appreciate that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this idea of really personalizing your educational experience, and it looks like I jumped ahead. My apologies. To talk about the academics and like I say, academics plus, academics and what do you add to your major perhaps to really personalize your academic experience. So I'm going to have Dr. Shay kind of give you an overview of the options, some of which you see here on the screen, and then we're going to have a little bit of conversation with some of our students about what they're doing here.
Thanks, Chris. I'll try to make it quick so we leave time for our students, but basically many different ways that a student can personalize their education from an academic perspective. You've heard about our options. You can also complement many of our majors with a minor. I mentioned some of our students combine nutritional sciences and kinesiology. You've heard a couple of our students mention BBH and nutritional sciences. Lots of different ways that you can do that across our HHD subjects. You also could just find a minor that is something you're interested in, whether that might be history or music or something in communications. That might be something that just gives you a little bit of a different experience to combine with your major. Our programs have a number of what at Penn State we call integrated undergraduate, graduate, or IUG options, where you combine a Bachelor of Science with a master's degree in BBH and HPA and kinesiology. You have the option to combine with a master's of public health. HPA also offers a combination with their Master of Health Administration, as well as a Master's of Public Policy and a Master's of International Affairs in that degree program. And so lots of different ways that you can combine these with a minor, with double majors. You heard some of our students mention that, and lots of unique minors across our programs. We have minors in global health, minors in neuroscience, minors in child maltreatment and advocacy studies, diversity and inclusion in health and human development, sports studies, meeting and event management, great opportunities to combine with lots of different degree programs. So I'm going to let Chris take it over and let the students share some of their ideas.
Okay, so I think, so I guess the question is, so a couple of you, actually a number of you, I think Elizabeth, Sarah, Katie, Daniela, Viviana, Garrett, Gabby, lots of folks have, let's talk about minors first, okay? Because that is pretty common in terms of students who are graduating with taking something that either complements their major or perhaps is just something that they're really excited about. So those of you that have minors, let's talk a little bit about what made you decide to kind of squeeze that on in or fit that on into your schedule? What is it that, how did you discover it? What is it that made that worth your time? And I'll just kind of open it up if you want to talk about it. Just unmute yourself, and we all know that we're all in the same room. So if we talk over each other, we'll just take turns.
I can start on this one, if that's okay. Yep. Good. Okay, great. So I'm a health policy and administration major, and I have a women's gender and sexuality studies minor, which is not super common, but within the HPA curriculum, you have a lot of room to take elective classes, which are basically normal. You wouldn't consider them your normal electives, which might be what you would call gen eds. These would be more like 300 level classes that you can take across many different courses. So I've taken some business administration classes, which are like management, marketing, and things like that. But I was really interested in women's health and just women's studies in general. So before I had become an HPA major, I had just taken some as general education classes. But once I moved into the major, I realized I had taken maybe 2 that I could apply as my elective credits. So once I realized that, it was pretty easy to just pick up a minor because I was very interested in that. And so I ended up having the minor, but it also would double count for 400 level electives I needed, 300 levels, things of that sort. So a lot of these majors in HHD, you'll find it's very easy to pick up a minor because they can double count for your required courses. And that was just something I was really interested in. So it was pretty easy for me to integrate that into my curriculum and I think I only had to take 1 extra class that would technically not count for anything, but just to satisfy that minor. So you can see that it was really easy for me to include that in without really taking any extra coursework.
Okay. So now let's talk, a couple of you are doing the psychology minor, Elizabeth and Daniela. So can you talk a little bit about your experiences in choosing that particular minor?
Yeah, so I had to take Psych 100 and then I took Psych 212 just to count towards the Kines major. And then, like she was saying, it's really easy to integrate that because then I only had to take 1 class that didn't count towards my major. And there was a lot of overlap with how in Kines you learn a lot about sports. And I took a lot of sports psychology classes. So that was interesting to see the cognitive part of such a physical minor, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay. So yeah, so kind of bringing together those 2 different parts of the science side, but again, having more that's so adding in more of those social sciences for your particular interests. So what do you, Daniela, tell us again, what are you doing after you what do you plan to do after you graduate?
Yeah, I'm going to take a gap year and get my master's of public health, and I'm going to go on to physical therapy school.
Okay, so yeah, so figuring out understanding people's behaviors and what kind of motivates them certainly applies when you're looking at physical therapy for sure. Yeah. So let's see, Elizabeth, do you want anything you want to add about your interest in a psychology major?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a biobehavioral health major, and then so with that I had to take Psych 100, and then I just really loved learning about it. So then I took some more. And then, yeah, I just found out how easy it'd be to just add a psych minor to it because it really integrated with the major. And I just really found it interesting. So I thought I might as well do it.
Okay. And what are you thinking of doing after you graduate?
I'm hoping to go to PA school after I graduate.
So we got some PT, we got PA, because I know there definitely interest among some of our prospective students in becoming physician assistants as well. Garrett, I'm going to put you on the spot because I think yours is pretty interesting. Recreation, Park, and Tourism Management major, but you've also got 2 minors that you've identified. The Sport Studies one, which is kind of an inner curricular minor, and then also sustainability leadership. So can you talk about what kind of sparked your interest in those 2 in particular?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So as some of my fellow panelists have kind of hinted at, Penn State has a plethora of minors that are available, and specifically within the College of Health and Human Development, there's no difference there. There's a ton of possibilities and really different avenues you want to pursue. There's most likely going to be something that that's going to interest you. So for me personally, as Chris mentioned, I'm a recreation, park, and tourism management major. And I'm really interested in pursuing more of the venue management opportunities after graduation. So Penn State does not offer a sports management program per se. So I knew that if I was going to do venue management in the future, it would most likely be an entertainment or sports venue. So I'm really passionate about sports. So I thought the sports studies minor, which is relatively new, was a great opportunity to add that to my resume and learn some relevant experience there with some additional courses. And on top of that, I'm really passionate about just being sustainable in my daily life. So I figured as kind of we progress in the future and matters become more sustainability focused across the board, I thought it would be really relevant for when I'm a professional in the industry to have a little bit of a leg up possibly with some sustainability leadership background.
Okay. So some common themes here in terms of thinking ahead, thinking about what you ultimately want to do after you graduate. How does this minor kind of, again, complement what you're already doing? And maybe, you know, again, fits into, as Garrett said, passionate about sustainability in his personal life, sees this as an opportunity to kind of expand upon that through this minor. So I want to circle back to Susan Sanders, because I think a key thing when we talk about minors, or maybe even double majors, because there's a question about that, is that how it really is so vital that you talk to, who should they talk to, Susan?
Their advisor, Chris.
Good answer. So, and it's because it really takes, it's not just thinking ahead to your long-term plan, what you want to do after you graduate, but it's the planning to get you there while you're here. So do you want to talk a little bit about that process, Susan? Because I think people are kind of wondering, how does this work?
Sure. So I think a couple of students mentioned taking Psych 100, which is the introductory psychology class. So in many of our majors, that is a required course. And so if you take that and that sparks your interest, then you talk with your academic advisor about how you could continue to take psych classes that would apply to your degree. So while you're testing out whether that's something that you want to do as a full minor or not, it's still counting for something that you need to graduate with your major. I think using your general education requirements as a way to explore potential minors is a really great idea. I think it was Katie who was talking about the women's studies classes that she took for general education requirements, but she got interested. So they were counting for her degree, and then she found ways, working with an advisor, I'm guessing, to incorporate the next set of credits that would count for the minor and also for the major. Sometimes it does mean that there might be an extra class or two. And so then you can talk with your advisor about maybe making room by taking some classes in the summer, either through Penn State or maybe knocking out some other requirements through a community college near you at home. So I think the advisor's really there to help you explore whether you want to do the minor, talk over how you see that adding value to you as a person or as a potential job or grad school candidate, and then also how to fit it in the most affordable way.
And I think that how to fit it in the most affordable way is a really important statement, not just for minors, but also for the question of double majoring. I get lots of questions in my role with prospective students of people asking about, I think I want to do a double major in this and this, you know, can I do that? And the answer is always like, it's going to depend. You really need to talk with an advisor. There are some majors where it definitely can happen and they are can fairly integrate like that. But there are other majors that are kind of in two totally different areas of the university or even within our college that it might not work quite so easily, or you might be able to do it, but there's definitely going to be some extra time involved, and extra time translates into extra cost. So it's a question that folks always kind of want to answer up front. And it's always one of those questions. It's an answer that's like, you really need to kind of settle in, wait and see, think about, kind of, there's a big transition that happens between, high school work and even college work in high school, and once you're actually in college, and how does this all go together? But so anything you want to add before I do chime in and ask, we've got at least one of our students who is doing a double major who can kind of talk about their experience to date.
I think everything you just said is so true. And I think, and you're right, it applies to double majors as well as to these integrated undergraduate graduate programs, because you're essentially doing 2 degrees. And so how you make that work might mean heavier loads each semester. It might mean some summers. It might mean an extra semester. So what you have to think through is, how passionate am I about this? How is this adding value? And how can I do it in the most mindful, planful way possible? So it's doable. Sometimes students look at what it would take and decide that a minor in that area would be just fine and meet their goals. And sometimes it is going to be the double major. The earlier you start talking about what you're interested in with your advisor, the better you'll be able to plan.
Okay. And I think there's a question here from somebody that's asking about, how do you figure out if a minor is applicable to your degree? And I think the answer is you work with your academic advisor, and they'll help you figure out, how does this fit with your degree plan, or what else will you need to do in order to make it fit within your degree.
Absolutely true. And I don't want everybody to think it has to fit with your major. Right. They don't have to be complementary. This may be your only time in your life where you could spend some time studying film. And so why not take advantage of that? So again, you can plan how to do that, how to make that work, but they don't have to go hand in hand. And it shouldn't necessarily be the minor that you can do most easily, because so many of the credits apply to your major.
Okay, so let's talk to some folks that are doing double majors. I know, Sarah, you've got a double major. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've chosen, and remind folks what you've chosen and why you've chosen to do this?
So I'm actually double majoring in biobehavioral health and nutritional sciences, and I'm in the behavioral nutrition and public health option. I essentially I came in as a BBH major, as an intended BBH major, and I took the introductory course to nutrition, and I took BBH 101, which is the introductory course to biobehavioral health. And I found that the most interesting topics for me were all the nutrition topics. And so I went to my advisor and I said, you know what, I don't want to be BBH anymore. Like, I want to be nutrition. I want to drop this major. I just want to switch. And he talked me out of it, and I stayed in BBH for a little longer. And we talked a lot. So I am going to reiterate kind of what Chris and Susan were saying. Like, you need to talk to your advisor, because I talked to him a lot my freshman year, and we ended up settling for the double major because we were able to plan out the way that my courses were going to look over the 4 years. And I'm lucky enough that the BBH major is really, really flexible in terms of what courses you can take to fulfill certain requirements. So I was able to fit a lot of my nutrition courses under the BBH requirements. So I'm going to be able to do both majors. And I do have a heavier course load, but I will finish in 4 years, which I'm very lucky for. And everybody's situation is going to be really different. So it depends on if you came in with credits during high school, or if you're what kind of majors you're thinking of doing combined. It really, really depends. It's very individual. And I think it just depends on what matters to you and what's interesting to you. But for me, I couldn't give one up because I love BBH and I love nutrition. So I couldn't just do one. I had to do both. So that's why I'm doing them both. Yeah.
Great. I like how you explained all of that, about your rationale. So in terms of that integrated undergraduate graduate degree program, so this idea where over the course of 5 years, you can earn both a Bachelor of Science degree in your intended major in health and human development and a graduate degree. We've got some folks that are doing that. So I want to talk, I think Katie, you're currently pursuing this, and then we've got a couple of people that are thinking about it. So just a quick kind of discussion about the IUG option. So Katie, what is it that made you jump right on in and to say, yes, I am going to do this 5 years, earn both of these degrees?
Sure. I think I remember I stumbled upon the IUG program. I hadn't really been familiar with it. And once I saw it, I had been contemplating which one to do, either the MHA, the Masters of Health Administration, or the Masters of Public Health. And I really wasn't sure which route I wanted to go down. But I realized I was really passionate about public health. I just really love, working with people and things of that sort. And I just felt like that was what I was going to be passionate about. So once I decided that, and I realized that I wanted to go to grad school because I just was not ready for the real world just yet, I realized that it would just make so much sense to do a 5-year program instead of applying to another school, possibly taking the GRE and going through all of that application process. I could just apply simply through Penn State, have just 1 extra year, and then graduate with 2 degrees. So it just seemed really beneficial for me and still let me go to grad school without having to take a whole 2 years. And I can just do it in 1, which is really nice.
Good. All right. And then we've got a couple folks that are thinking about it. So I don't know which one of you wants to kind of chime in here, Morgan or Allison or Sarah, who are thinking about the IUG, but maybe just talk a bit about what's kind of got your interest with this particular program and which one you're thinking of pursuing.
Yeah, I can go. So I'm only a freshman, but I did talk about it with my advisor because it's always good to plan. I think earlier, just have like some sort of a blueprint of a plan. So my major is health policy and administration. And if I did do the IUG program, I would more do business management. And I'm also, along with that, pursuing a minor of information sciences and technology along with HPA. So my plan is either kind of more hospital management or corporate versus kind of the public policy side. And I just think Penn State's IUG program is great because some companies will, pay for you to go back and get your master's, but a lot of jobs also really prefer the experience. So if it's a choice that you're willing to make to stay in school for another, that half of your senior year and then an additional year, I just thought Penn State offered a really great program for that.
Great. Okay, very good. So let's kind of talk about another way that you can personalize your experience here at Penn State, and that's going to be talking about engaging in undergraduate research. So again, Dr. Shay, do you want to kind of frame up this part of the discussion about undergraduate research opportunities here?
Sure. Whether a student's interested in going on to a clinical career or graduate school, or even in business, research really offers a great opportunity to make your education personal and complement what you're doing in your degree program. There are some unique experiences that you will get. You'll get to dive deep into a particular area of expertise, which can be great to talk about and learn more about in interview processes and on applications. In addition, you build a great relationship with faculty and graduate students who become mentors, who provide recommendations, who help guide you through that process. I really stress that this is not just something that a student who is interested in graduate school or is interested in going to medical school should explore and think about. Many faculty in health and human development are doing research, not just with groups like the NIH, but with industry. And so I have an example I always share with a student in our Nutritional Sciences department who is working with Professor Kathleen Keller in our metabolic kitchen and children's eating behavior lab. And they were studying one of those incredible questions, how to get kids to eat their vegetables. So really important issue, but they were partnered with McCormick Spice Company, looking at how different spice combinations might get young children to eat more vegetables and eat a healthier diet. And so that's a great example of how someone can really learn about research. And many businesses and industries, many organizations have research divisions, which students can pair with as part of their career experience. And so having that research background, building those relationships through research is going to be a great opportunity for any student, regardless of where they're going after graduation.
All right, so let's talk to some students who have been doing some undergraduate research. We've got Elizabeth, Maria, Viviana, Daniela. So let's hear, let's start with Maria. Do you want to talk about the research program you've been involved in and what you've been doing so far? And more importantly, what are you getting out of this experience?
Yeah, sure. So I was involved in research that was based on children's sleep patterns and like how their routines could impact how they would sleep throughout the night. And it was a longitudinal study. So that basically means that we would get information from the same kids, but throughout different years or throughout different months. So we would get information from 3 months all the way up to 2 years old. So we would be able to see how that may impact their sleep patterns and what would happen during their, I guess, like mini nighttime routine beforehand with their parents and other siblings. And I think it really taught me, even if you don't want to go into research or if you do, it really helps you realize what you want to do with your life, because I think research is one of the only opportunities you get to see what you could actually do without it being an internship that you could do during the school year and get credits for it. And it also doesn't have to be in your major. For example, my research was in HDFS, or Human Development and Family Studies, and I'm a biobehavioral health major. So I think it also gives you that opportunity to see what else is out there if you are a certain major. I also really loved the team that I worked with. I worked mainly with graduate students and then one professor, and he also wrote me a recommendation for graduate school. So they can be really helpful and they can help you like guide into what you want to do. And they're also just really nice. I don't know, maybe that's just a trait of health and human development, but I really found them to be really helpful. They were always really nice, and they understood that you're like an undergraduate student and you had other responsibilities, but as long as you get your work done and you would be able to talk to them and be friendly, I think it was a really awesome experience. I don't do it anymore, unfortunately, due to COVID and everything going online. It's been pretty tricky, but if you have the opportunity to do so, I would definitely say yes and try to find something you're interested in. And if not, it can still be beneficial in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, good. So Esther, how about your experience with undergraduate research?
So unfortunately, a lot of my research did get cut short due to COVID, and I think I took one semester of like 18 or 19 credits, so I couldn't really spend that much time in the lab. But one of the more memorable projects that I remember working on, kind of like what was said earlier, this company hired Penn State to do research with their new sports drink. I don't know if I can talk about it that much in detail because I think a bunch of people had to sign NDAs and
non-disclosure agreements. So
yeah,
we don't want to reveal trade secrets here.
And I looked it up last night and the product's still not on the market, but essentially it was this company that wants to be a competitor to Gatorade. So they came up with this new sports drink with a compound that is very hydrating. So we had a bunch of participants who had water as a control, Gatorade, and this new sports drink. And so me and a bunch of other students would look at their osmolality, their specific gravity, to determine how hydrated they were. And then we were able to learn how to use the different equipment in the labs. And then also you get to talk to the participants to see how they're feeling, interact with them, and then learn how they're going through their process throughout the research. So that was really fun.
So, and I like how you just talked about the fact that, you get to use equipment, you get to work with subjects, you get to work on some of the protocols, all of that. And you're working on behalf of a company, and that can be pretty, a pretty impactful and impressive experience as you prepare for grad school or for employment. Anybody else who's had some research experience want to just talk just briefly about their experience? I know Viviana, Daniela, Elizabeth, do one of you have anything else you want to add before we move on?
I can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Daniela, go ahead, and then Viviana.
I was just going to say, using the equipment was super helpful, because then when I went and I was shadowing a PT in this summer, because I did my research in the spring, I knew how to use all of the equipment. So he was like impressed by that, and he didn't have to take the time to explain how to use it all to me. And it was really nice to form relationships with the graduate students, because then one of them ended up being a TA in one of my classes. So to have that relationship already formed was really helpful, because then I felt comfortable coming to him with issues with the class and not even just the research. So it was a really great experience, and I would really recommend it.
Good. And that's a great point about the relationships that you build. I know we mentioned it on the slide, but it is about the relationships you build with faculty and other students, upper class or graduate students, who can really kind of serve in that mentorship is really important. And I think Viviana, were you going to say something before I move on?
Yeah, I was going to talk about my research. So yeah. I've been working on since like literally the first 4 weeks of freshman year up till now with Dr. Keller's Metabolic Kitchen Lab. I know we talked about it a little bit, that it studies like nutrition and eating behaviors in children, but it also studies potential eating disorders and other behaviors that could happen on children, especially like to prevent obesity and like binge eating and all that. And it's so interesting, and I've actually been able to like work with the children. I've had that opportunity before COVID hit, and it's been super interesting, and I 100% encouraged to go on research, because thanks to that, now I know that I'm actually interested in like pursuing my career to work with people who have eating disorders and everything. So I highly recommend to.
Very good. Thanks for that testimonial. And I do think that, you know, when a prospective student looks at a place like Penn State and all of the different options and opportunities, you can't overlook the fact that this is a major research institution globally. And so to have the opportunity as an undergraduate to work with world-class faculty on projects that truly can change so many lives, I think is a great opportunity. So we're going to talk a little bit about another opportunity here, which has to do with being able to kind of explore the world and global engagement. So Dr. Shay, back to you to kind of frame this part of the discussion.
Great. Yeah, so global engagement is a really important opportunity that students can take advantage of while they're here at Penn State. More and more of our industries, more and more of our employers are global employers, and they're looking for people that appreciate that diversity of global experience, that are willing to interact with people from other nations, whether that be medical experiences or medical tourism, hospitality, certainly recreation and parks. These are international industries, and the student who has a global experience is going to be much farther ahead as part of their job and career exploration. We have lots of great opportunities within the college of programs that are run by our faculty, and you can take programs across the whole diversity of Penn State experiences. And then of course, a major university like Penn State has a lot of connections with outside providers of study abroad experiences too. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be something that's from a Penn State program that you can use for your global engagement. The experiences run with lots of different opportunities to fit a student and their family's finances and maybe their sense of risk and adventure. Everything from just a week-long experience to things that might be an entire year's experience, and a great opportunity for students to kind of just explore different types of cultures. And I know some students like doing maybe several different shorter experiences so they get exposed to several different types of cultures through that. A great example of one of the programs we have at Penn State is a program that comes out of our Recreation, Park, and Tourism Management program. It's called the Parks and People program, and it's with a national park in Tanzania, where students actually get to go over and see how an African national park tries to maintain a cultural heritage, a sustainability approach with an economic development approach to the park that they're trying to market to the global world. And so it's a great opportunity in many of these experiences for students to really get introduced to something that they maybe never even thought was on their mind until they learn about these types of experiences. So we'd love to hear the students share some of the things that they've done or are planning to do.
So Gabby, I'm going to call on you right now because you definitely have had this experience. And I know you have to go after this. So could you just talk a little bit about your experience, your study abroad experience?
Yeah, so like I said, my major is biobehavioral health, and I have a minor in deafness and hearing studies. But ever since high school, I was really interested in Spanish and studying the Spanish language. So one opportunity I found was through the Center for Language Science, which is a research center on campus in the psychology department. And they had an opportunity to do research abroad, studying different languages and bilingualism. So I contacted one of the professors who was doing research specifically about Spanish, and I had the opportunity to go to Colombia for 2 months over the summer last year. And I created my own research experiment with my professor, and then we actually went into a very small village there, conducted our research for 2 weeks, and then spent the rest of the time in cities around Colombia. And it was such an incredible experience for me. I know when I came to Penn State, I knew that I definitely wanted to study abroad somehow, but I wasn't really sure how. And I wasn't sure that I was ready to commit to an entire semester, just because I didn't want to miss out on everything that Penn State has to offer on campus too. So this was a perfect opportunity for me. It was more than just a week, but it was still less than a semester, and it was over the summer. So it gave me a really great opportunity to just form more skills from doing my research and getting to travel. So it fit perfectly for me.
So I love that there are so many options, that it can be over the summer, it can be during the school year, it can be for credit, it can be for research, it can be for an internship. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility. It's a great resource here at Penn State, which is the Office of Global Programs, which can help students identify opportunities, if you know, particularly for earning academic credit. Penn State has relationships and partnerships with a number of different institutions around the globe. So definitely that's an option. I want to just ask Jenna, because she had a really interesting experience. So obviously during this time of the global pandemic, global study, global travel is certainly not happening, but she was able to have a global experience this summer. So Jenna, can we talk a little about that just briefly? Because I love how in spite of COVID, you were able to have a really good experience. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, so essentially I did a remote internship. So it was the company I was interning with was in Argentina, but obviously I didn't go to Argentina because of COVID. But I was able to meet with my program directors every week while they were in Argentina, just learn everything that they had to offer. And how I was able to get to this point is I talked to the Student Engagement Network, which they're really big on making sure students are engaged in their community. And they gave me, I applied for a grant, and so they gave me the money to participate in the program. And what I really liked about the student engagement portion of the program was that we had a whole little group and we would meet every week and we would talk to each other about our different experiences. So I wasn't just learning about my own, I was learning about other people's as well. And it just really gave me a well-rounded look at that. And my group leader, I still talk to her today. We still have a close relationship. And with my internship itself was great because I want to go into public health. And especially with COVID, I had to look at the more clerical side of things, because although I want to get into the clinical aspects, having a well-rounded look is always great to do. So I really worked with translations because they had a bunch of new protocols to do. So I translated that, and then helping them with grant funding as well. So it was great to see in times like this how you need to be a flexible professional. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Student Engagement Network is such a great resource, and one that I'm not sure a lot of people know about. And my major is Human Development and Family Studies, and that's always such a great major to have because it helps you work with people, and it's really applicable to pretty much everything. So I really enjoyed this summer, even though I wasn't in the country.
I just love that in spite of the limitations and restrictions through the pandemic, you were able to have, I think, a really valuable experience and still a global experience without leaving home or country. So, and thank you for talking about the Student Engagement Network, a tremendous resource. And I would say students oftentimes wonder about, funding, but there's no formal internship in that particular program. But our other majors, those internship opportunities are out there. So Dr. Shay, do you want to talk a little bit about just kind of the approach to internships, and then we've got several students that can talk about their experiences as well.
Sure, thanks, Chris. So, I really think internships are one of the backbones of the HHD program because it's built into the curriculum. It's part of the academic credit for many of our majors that you will earn. And so it's a very organized process. Each department usually has one or more faculty members who are responsible for the internship sequence. They often have a pre-internship class that helps to prepare you, works on your cover letter, works on your resume, helps you reach out to alumni and other organizations who have provided these internships in the past, helps you think about the experiences that you want to build into that internship so that you'll get the most out of it. They're really experiences that take a full semester or a full summer, often for students to complete. We're going to want to see the projects that you're doing for the organization so that we know there's an academic value to that. It's often paired with an online course that you'll take. You'll be involved in discussion groups, sharing those experiences, as you just heard through the Student Engagement Network. That's one example, but many departments do that with their internship experience as well. And often your preceptor will be contacted by the faculty member to learn more about what you're doing, to make sure that they're giving you the experience that we expect them to. So it's really a great opportunity for students to get started on that career networking, on that career experience. At the very least, you might identify an organization or a type of work that you don't want to do for the rest of your life. And that can really clarify some of the opportunities that you really do want to take advantage of. But many of our students do find what they love through their internship and get that first job offer or that first experience in the work setting through that internship. So we should hear from the students now.
All right, so we've got a couple of them here. So we got Timberly, Garrett, and Katie who can talk a little bit about internships. So Timberly, we'll start with you. Can you share what your experience was, and more importantly, what did you learn?
Yeah, of course. So as I said, I'm a kinesiology major, and it's in the curriculum to have internships. So as a senior, I've had 3 different internships, and I not only did I learn a lot, like I did one in chiropractic, I did one with a nurse practitioner, and then am doing one with like individuals with intellectual disabilities, like healthcare. So not only did I learn a lot about that, like with my chiropractics, I learned about different machines and everything, and like you pretty much just learn a lot of like bedside manner, you know, how to establish your client to professional relationship and everything. You really learn a lot about like what you like and what you don't like, because they really allow you to explore. So with my chiropractic one, that's what I wanted to do when I first came into Penn State. I learned really quickly that that wasn't what I wanted to do, which is, you know, not a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing. So with other internships, people may have a different experience. Like they really solidified what they wanted to do, or, you know, so I was able to quickly change my projected career due to that one internship that I had. So you do learn a lot in that way. And another thing is it looks really good on like resumes to say you had that many clinical hours and stuff like that. So I like that aspect about it. And lastly, it just like really allows you to make connections. So people that I've interned for throughout the years, I really have a good connection with them, and they're like, hey, in the future, if you ever, you know, I have their number, so I could just always like text them or, you know, email them and be like, hey, I'm looking for a job or whatever. I mean, not that it's always that easy, but it does really help you to build your professional network.
Networks are really important, and to have those opportunities at various levels throughout your undergraduate experience, to have those internship or job shadowing options and opportunities it can be really, really helpful. Garrett, let's talk about yours. What's your internship experience been like so far?
Yeah, so actually, as I mentioned at the start of this panel, I'm from just outside of Hershey, Pennsylvania. And if anyone is not familiar, there is a pretty large theme park by the name of Hershey Park that resides in Hershey. And so growing up there, I knew obviously what Hershey Park was, but I had never actually been on the side of like not being a visitor and actually like putting on events and what goes into the theme park industry. So this was the summer of 2019, so before COVID really hit. I was lucky enough to be approved for an internship actually at Hershey Park in their guest experience department. And I've always considered myself a people-oriented person, so I thought that was a great place to kind of get my foot in the door with a significant company and see where the future could take me with potential other internship opportunities and potentially future employment. So it was really just to see if I thought theme parks would be for me and kind of what went into carving somebody's experience into being meaningful and bringing them back another time. So I learned pretty quickly that theme parks are pretty rigorous and there's a lot going on. So unfortunately, that's not really the area for me, but I'm so appreciative of Hershey and for giving me that internship opportunity and for putting me and trusting me to be in that position. I learned a lot of vital skills such as like problem solving, how to deal with people when they're not always, the happiest with their experience at the park that day. So it was a lot of really good relevant skills that I can carry on to wherever I find myself in the future post-college. And then just adding on to this, recreation, park, and tourism management, which is my major, actually requires an internship, which most students usually complete this the semester right before they graduate. So I'll be completing that most likely in spring 2022, right before I graduate and get out of here. But that's going to be a really cool opportunity. It's a 12 credit required internship. So I have the intro course to that in this upcoming spring semester, and then I'll start to look for kind of where I want to find myself for an internship. And having that previous internship has really, steered me in the direction I want to go. So I'm super appreciative for it.
Okay, great. And Katie, you've had several, and I understand you lined up an internship for the summer.
Yeah, so I was actually just going to talk about kind of how my internships progressed because I've had 3 and now this will be my 4th coming into next summer or the upcoming summer. But I got my first internship because it was with a medical device company and it was where my dad worked. And I remember when I got this internship, I was like, did I really earn this? Was I using just my dad to get into this internship? And I mean, of course, yes, a little bit. But my biggest advice is that sometimes you want to take those connections. So you will meet so many people going into internships that got their internship because they knew somebody, or it was their dad, their mom, somebody, that first internship, because sometimes it can be hard to jump right in, especially after your freshman year. But I was lucky enough to have that experience. And so I kind of took that connection. And then from that, the summer after, I interned at the same company, but not because of any connections. I just simply had made connections with other people in the company. So I was able to reapply and they hired me based off my merit and what I had done during my previous internship. And then the one after that, they hired me because my 2 previous internships were great experience. And then my final internship that I'll have this summer hired me because also of my past experience. So I think it's really important to take that first connection and don't feel that you're not worthy or that you're not earning this internship, maybe because someone close to you is able to get you that experience, because I was so lucky to have that after my freshman year. And it has snowballed into a really great internship coming up this summer. And just overview, I interned freshman year. I was still an engineer. So I did a research and development internship. Once I switched my major, I did a marketing internship in medical devices. And then last summer, I was actually supposed to intern with Wyndham Hotels in their health and benefits area. Sector of the company, which was really interesting because that's kind of different. Most people, especially in health policy and administration, I don't think view themselves as working for a hotel. But because that was cut short due to COVID, the HPA database was super helpful. The HPA department was so on top of everything, and they put out many different opportunities for us. So I was able to secure another internship with a healthcare company, and another great experience. I was super fortunate to have that and adapt to COVID times. And because of those experiences, I will now have a healthcare consulting internship this summer that I'm really excited about. And I will say that my master's, that integrated master's program, has helped me significantly to gain an internship because that just looks like great experience. And because of the IUG as well, since I'm technically only have 1 more year, a lot of companies, when they hire you as an intern for your junior year, will rehire you senior year to come on after you graduate. But because of the IUG, I technically look like a junior because I will have my summer and then do only 1 year of grad school and then be ready to start full-time work. So you're gaining the benefit of being ready to work full-time and having a graduate degree. So it sets you up really great for full-time jobs later on.
Great, thank you so much. So I know there were some questions that some of our admitted students submitted when they registered, asking about COVID and some of the implications of COVID. And I think maybe they were asking about campus life, which we can certainly talk about here in the next couple of minutes. But I will say that it definitely changed some programs for the summer, whether it be going abroad, like whether it be for internships. But I will say that it has been really a tremendous, I think, level of support among not just faculty and staff at Penn State, but the alumni who have stepped up and really provided lots of opportunities for students over the summer that they might not have been able to, if they couldn't go in this direction because of COVID, they were able to go in this direction. The health policy and administration photo that we showed you earlier of a gentleman who was talking to a class, he was actually back for an alumni in the classroom event, but that particular gentleman also this past summer created distance via virtual internships for a number of students, and they were able to do real work and get real internship experience virtually this summer through his organization, which addresses mental health and is dedicated to promoting mental health awareness around the country. So there were students that worked on fundraising initiatives. There were students that worked on grant writing initiatives. And so lots of flexibility and a lot of people, including alumni, stepping up to ensure student success during this very, very different time. So what we want to do next, just in the last couple of minutes that we have together, is really open it up to some questions from all of our students here. I know some of you have been posting questions in the Q&A, so continue to do that, and we'll keep watching and asking questions. But as we wrap things up in the next couple of minutes here. But for those of the current students that are with us, I think let's talk about, like, what do you think? We've talked about a number of different things, but there are a lot of other things we could have talked about today too. What do you think really is key to making the most of your time at Penn State and in the College of Health and Human Development? So something else other than what we've already talked about. We've talked about academics, we've talked about minors, and we've talked about integrated undergraduate graduate studies. We've talked about research, we've talked about internships, we've talked about going abroad. What do you think is key for making the most of your time at Penn State and in HHD? Any one of you can jump in.
I will say one thing I've come to realize is that take the classes that truly interest you, and never feel like, be unapologetically you in your path through college. You know, I picked up a women's studies minor, and I remember a lot of people saying, that's pointless. Like, what are you doing with that minor? You're just wasting your time. But that was something that was so interesting to me, and I've learned so much. And the same thing with I remember when I was debating the public health master's versus health administration, people were talking about the money and their future, but I knew that that was what I was passionate about. So I think going through your time in HHD, choose what you really want to do. Don't let the kind of outside world influence you, because there's so much great knowledge to be had in all these different courses. So if you are, you think that business is the right thing, but you're so much more interested in more of a psychology and science-based type classes and major, do that, because you're going to end up so much happier in the end than if you try to force yourself into a box that you think is the right path. So just take the courses that you're super interested in, and don't be afraid to branch out, because you might take one course that seems crazy and weird, but it'll end up your minor, double major, master's, something like that. So don't be afraid to take the class, and don't be afraid to choose what you really want to do.
So Katie said, be bold and explore. Go forth and explore. All right, other advice in terms of what's key to making the most of your time here at Penn State? How about Megan? You can go first, and then Jenna.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. I would recommend, if you have the opportunity to do so, becoming a TA or an LA, so like a teaching assistant or a learning assistant for a course. I've been a TA twice now, and I'm going to do probably another one next semester. And I've just found that was like really beneficial for me, just to kind of see the professor's side of teaching. I feel like you get a really kind of greater appreciation for the knowledge and just what they go through. And it's also like a really good way to get closer to your professors, and then like just gain more experience. So I would really recommend that.
Okay. Jenna?
My advice would just be, like, because we are here for school first and foremost, but to make sure not to get sucked into academics, and also get involved with student orgs, because it can be a really good stress reliever to have, because your outlet can be your major and your future, but also staying present and making sure that the whole college life doesn't pass you by. And there's an insane amount of things to do at Penn State. There's always something going on somewhere. I think Chris mentioned before the newsletters. So checking those, there's events there, Hub Lawn events. It's just really getting that whole community aspect, and making sure you have a support system is also really important, whether it's within your major or other friends, just everybody coming together and just making sure we can get through these years.
Okay. We are getting through. So when you think about the future, when you guys think about what you're going to do after you graduate, I want you to talk about, how do you think Penn State and HHD is preparing you for what's going to come next, and remind everybody what you want to do so down the road. So who wants to talk about after graduation, like how is your experience at Penn State and in HHD preparing you for that, and remind folks what you plan to do after you graduate?
I'm currently a senior communication sciences and disorders major. So I'm actually in the process of applying for grad schools right now, so I can be a speech pathologist later in life. Penn State has done an amazing job preparing all of their students for anything they want to pursue. The curriculum is very tough, it's rigorous, but at the same time, it's what you need to be successful in whatever field you want to be in, whether it's going into a career right away or going into grad school, I'd say. But also just the experience overall of being at Penn State, being at such a big and like proud and loud school, it has prepared you and it has prepared me to be anywhere I want to be and be able to or feel like I can accomplish whatever I want to accomplish.
Says a lot from coming from a senior there, Alex, as you guys are getting ready to graduate in the spring.
Yep, I'm one of the old ones.
You look so old, not. So anybody else before we wrap things up here?
I just want to mention the Pre-Health Advising Center. There are a lot of questions about pre-med or like allied health fields. And a lot of students in HHD take advantage of the Pre-Health Advising Center here at Penn State. So those are separate advisors who are knowledgeable about graduate careers, so they can help you plan courses. And I think it's really useful to join clubs that pertain to your major. So I'm in the Kinesiology club and I'm also in the pre-PA club. And both clubs do a great job of inviting speakers, alumni, people who are in the fields that you're really interested in. And most times you can get their emails afterwards to ask them more personal questions. And then you can even have group meets in those clubs. So you can always ask around which classes are really interesting to take. Special topics classes that are offered every semester are also really interesting, and figure out which one or who's in the same class as you, so you can do study groups together. So I highly recommend those, and they really do help prepare you for the future.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Esther. That's good. So before we let you all go here, a couple of things. We have some additional things for you to look forward to in 2021. You will be getting information about dates for virtual visits that are going to be held with your individual academic department. So if you want to kind of get a closer, deeper look at your intended major, we're going to invite you to come into one of those sessions where you'll meet with representatives of the department. We'll have students who are in that particular major, and they can certainly answer your questions in detail about your intended major. There's going to be a game night hosted by some of these folks that you see here. The HHD ambassadors are going to be hosting that in the spring. We're going to have a meeting just for parents. There's a meet and greet that's going to be hosted by the Diversity and Inclusion Student Association in HHD. We've got a couple of other special programs that you'll be hearing about as well. We really are excited. Some of you have accepted your offers of admission, so welcome to HHD and in our incoming classes in 2021. But for some of you, you'll have time to do that between now and May 1st. There's lots of time for you to be able to make that decision. But we hope you liked what you heard today. And I guess I'm going to let a couple of our students, one or two of you, kind of have the final word. So I need two people who've got something really awesome to say as the last word to our accepted students today. So who would like to venture and share a couple parting words here? You all are thinking about it. So, nobody? You guys are never quiet.
No.
Okay, Viviana and Sarah, you guys got it.
Okay, so I just wanted to say for everybody who has accepted their offers of admission, congratulations. I will be so excited to see you on campus, hopefully, eventually, fingers crossed, no mask, no social distancing, eventually. And then for everybody else who hasn't accepted their offer of admission, I hope that today was enlightening for you, because the reason why I decided to come to Penn State, why I chose HHD, was because of an accepted student program that I came to. I got to talk to everybody, got to meet everyone, and got to hear from their side of the coin, really, and getting to see really what life at Penn State is like. Is never the same as when you're there, but it's certainly a nice little push and a shove to kind of get you going. So yeah, for me, in my opinion, health and human development is the best college that has ever existed out there in any university or at Penn State. It's so unique, it's so integrative, it has great classes, it has great professors, it has great people. So definitely, if you haven't accepted yet, I hope you seriously consider it. And yeah, I hope to see you around, but thank you all so much for coming.
Sarah, that was great. Viviana, you got to top that.
I wanted to go back up Sarah, because I also wanted to say that I also chose to be in HHD because of an acceptance students program, and mainly because of what the students said. And I just want to say that HHD is so broad and it has so many opportunities. Like if you accept please don't like be afraid to reach out and like try those new opportunities, because it's certainly like unforgettable.
Well, we are excited that you all of you accepted students who have offers of admission have the opportunity for, as Viviana said, an unforgettable experience here at Penn State and in the College of Health and Human Development. You see in the bottom corner there on your screen, there's my contact information. You will be hearing from me in the next day or two with follow-up from today's meetings. But if you have any other questions, I am more than happy to answer those. So thank you so much for attending. Again, congratulations on your offers of admission. And we cannot wait. We are so excited for what 2021 holds for all of us, and particularly for you as you make your college decision. We hope you choose Penn State, and we look forward to having you here in the College of Health and Human Development. Thanks so much for attending, everybody. Good to have everybody here. Take care.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Audrey, for coming. Appreciate your being here.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Looks like we got some folks that are closing out.